What's going on, everybody? This is Joe Spears alongside Kevin Bergsmith is this our final edition of the deep dive this season, Kevin? Are you going to Chattanooga?
I will be in Chattanooga. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, even better. So we'll have one more after this, guys. So
Yep.
Kevin, how are you doing, man?
Doing all right. I was pretty cold on Friday night. I think I got myself sick. Um, but I'm pushing through it. I'm ready for a championship week.
True champion right there. I was also cold, but I was running up and down the sideline, so I stayed warm. My hands got cold and my toes got cold. Outside of that, I did pretty well outside of Knight Wilson trying to kill me. Took me took me out on a play, and I am not as young as I once was. I do know that very much now. I was at Page Springfield. You were at the battle of the best in 6A for the last decade
Yeah.
plus. It seems like Oakland, Maryville, Patriots host Maryville. They get them back. Last year was kind of the last. It was kind of an off year. Bradley Central actually makes it. Oakland plays them in the semis, but Maryville Oakland is the 6A matchup everybody knows about. That's what they've been playing for. Maryville hasn't been able to get past Oakland since 2018 or 2019. Sorry.
19. Yeah. 19.
You were there. Before we break down some of the guys that stood out in that game, what'd you see?
First thing that I noticed from Maryville was in their pregame warmups. They're different from everybody I've ever seen. They are the epitome of fundamentals, working on pass rush one-on-ones and tackling drills, just stacking sheds. It was like a coach's dream seeing them go through their pregame stuff. And then once the game started, probably the most sophisticated passing offense I've seen all year too. They were carving up Oakland in the first quarter, passing the ball, especially on third downs. Went down and scored that first touchdown of the opening drive of the game, first touchdown. They punched it in, kept it going, got a couple field goals in the second quarter. We all kind of were looking around. It was very quiet after that first touchdown on the Oakland side when it was 7-0. And then even at halftime, it was 13-7. Everyone's kind of looking around like, what's going on right now? And then in the second half, Oakland flipped it. Maryville got a little pass happy for some reason. It was 18 passes to 4 rushes. And Oakland, they stopped overthinking it. They kind of abandoned their traditional offense and then just put the best 2 players in the backfield, started snapping it to them directly. And guess what? They scored 2 touchdowns and won. So it was definitely a heavyweight fight. And it was just great to be there. I loved it.
Yeah, at some point I need to get out to one of those. I've never seen those 2 teams square off. I'd love to see it. I'll do it in 2 years. I'm not driving all the way out there next year when this happens again. Yeah, can you imagine what was said at halftime by Kevin Creasy when they were playing like they did in the first half? My God. You want to talk about motivation and ripping them a new one. Boy, Kevin, one of the best around, arguably the best coach in the mid-state right now. Cam Reed and I, we argue about that. I say it's Ingle Martin. He says it's Kevin Creasy. Who the hell cares? We're both pretty much right. So
you're both right.
Yeah. You saw a couple guys that you're a big fan of. We'll kick off with arguably who you and I think is probably the most underrated player in the state, DeJuan Morris. The newly minted Tennessee commitment, flipped his commitment from USC to Tennessee. DeJuan, thank you. I can't root for USC, guys. I can't do it. You guys should have seen me on Saturday watching that Notre Dame USC game. DeJuan ends up, you texted me at halftime. He's only got 18 yards. He's getting bottled up. Nothing's going right. Finishes the game, 20 carries for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. Let's talk about DeJuan.
Number one, he's so shifty. Just behind the line of scrimmage, I think his vision, his contact balance, and his elusiveness is what separates him from everybody else. I was texting a buddy of mine before the game, big Tennessee fan, and he was asking me what did I think of him and who would I compare him to. I think he reminds me a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs and Jamal Charles, the old Texas running back who played for the Chiefs for a while. He's just like, he's so fun to watch. And every time he gets the ball, it looks like there's nothing, especially with the offense that Oakland runs. A lot of traps, a lot of underneath stuff. Even when they put him at Wildcat, it just looks like there's no place for him to go. And then we're seeing the highlights right now. He just puts his foot in the ground, kind of does a little dance move, and then he just walks in for a touchdown. Made 3 guys miss. Like, what just happened right there? He's incredible to watch. I love him. And then he was very tough in that game. Maryville, their run fits were so good. Like we said, bottled him up in the first half. He had no place to go, and he just stuck with it. The first touchdown was a 1-yard Wildcat QB situation. Took it, and Walter Payton jumped over everybody. And then the second one was the go-ahead touchdown in the fourth quarter, just kind of the nail in the coffin. Same thing. He was at QB, punched it in, and I just kind of looked around, and everybody knew, like, give it to that guy. What are we doing? Just keep giving it to him, and we're going to be okay. And they were.
Yeah, the last 3 weeks, he's just kind of gone just unbelievable. Like, he missed the first couple games of the season. I believe he came back for the Blackman game after getting hurt week 1.
Mm-hmm.
The last couple weeks, he's run for over 230 plus yards in both those, the Mount Juliet game and the Riverdale game. This week, not as many yards, but when you got Craig Tutt back there helping you out, that helps out quite a bit. We'll talk about him in a second, but I really like the Jahmyr Gibbs comparison. I'm sure Chris Brooks really likes that comparison as well. For me, he does remind me, and this is a little bit of a guy I'm a big fan of, Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame. He reminds me of him too, just the elusiveness, the power when you need it. Yeah, he's fun, man. And if Mr. Football is a full season award, even with all the games he missed early in the year, he'd be in the mix right now had he not missed those first 4 or 5 games. Just what he's done. I mean, he's rushed in the last, 3 games he has 10 touchdowns in those last 3 games. That's absurd numbers for a 3-game stretch. So he was my Mr. Football winner going into the year. Shame he got hurt, but they got a chance to bring back Gold next week, and he's going to be a big reason why they got revenge on their mind against Houston. The guy that filled in for him a lot this year, Craig Tutt, he also had a pretty nice game against Maryville. He's had nice games every single week. Rising junior that I think we're all going to be gushing about next year. He's another guy. I think his rankings will skyrocket. He had a pretty good game against Maryville as well.
So he played everything. He's their field safety. They play a lot of cover 2, cover 4 looks, just the 2 high safeties. He's always onto the field side. He had ended up having 3.5 tackles, had a pass defense. It was the last play of the game on 4th down, kind of ended the game with a pass defense. And just all over the place in the right spots, making touchdown saving plays on defense. And then on the offensive side of the ball, they bring him in as kind of the other running back behind Morris. He ended up having 13 carries for 70 yards and a touchdown. Also had 3 catches for 132 yards. I think 2 of those were running back screen passes. It's a nice little play design what they do, fake it to the running back, and then he just kind of drifts out, and then they throw it to him anyways. And the entire offensive line is out blocking for him, and it's just once he's out in space, his speed is a killer. Got great vision as well. He's tough to bring down. And then the thing that separates him, I think, and what a lot of coaches will love, he plays special teams. He is a valuable special teams player. Kickoff, kick returns, punt returns, on punts as well. Like, he is all over the field. I don't think he ever comes off the field. The only time he got injured on the opening drive, I think, and missed a couple plays, came right back and didn't look like he missed a beat the rest of the game. Like I said, he was all over the place in big games like this, especially like state semifinals, state championship games. Learned this a few years ago. It's a thing I always say to myself, especially a guy who's up for Mr. Football award. Where are you at, Mr. Football? Big time players show up in big time games, and both of those big time players showed up in this big time game.
Yeah, he's a stud. He's going to have his pick of the litter wherever he wants to go play college ball. I mean, they're gushing after him. And I think what he does over the summer and the spring, he goes and takes all his visits, does all that stuff that kids do ahead of their senior year. It's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. Again, Dewan, thank you for flipping to Tennessee. I'm not mad about it at all. Tamari Hill, not going to talk a whole lot about him, but, the 3-headed monster that they have in the backfield is back with Tamari back. more formerly known as TT Hill. That's my guy. I talk to him quite often. Good kid. Not the biggest game, but he did what was needed of him. It'll be interesting to see how they maybe fit him in. State championship. I know he had surgery on his left hand or wrist. I think he did something to it a couple weeks ago, but good to see him back on the field. They need the three of them functioning well if they're going to beat Houston next week. So
yeah, he was wearing a cast on his left hand, wrist, arm, whatever. Played a little bit early on, had 2 carries. Really more of a special teams player. The thing I love about it, though, those 3 guys are all on a kick return as the returners.
That's ridiculous.
So, yeah, it's a cool picture I took of the 3 of them in the backfield. Like, you're going to kick it to one of them, pick your poison. But yeah, that's just like a cool luxury for them to have.
That's unbelievable. He transferred. He was originally at Oakland, transferred to Brentwood Academy last year. Now he's back finishing out his high school career there. We'll talk a little bit about one of the Maryville guys, Brody Smith, offensive tackle, 6'5.5", 265 pounds. Big kid. A lot of Division I offers, including 4 from the ACC and SEC. What did you see out of him?
Very impressive. Looks the part of a pass blocking left tackle. Very great kick slide, and his drop back in pass pro is great, and his hand usage as well. Very strong, very quick. Just looked, whenever they drop back to pass, I was watching him to see what he was doing. Never gave up a pressure. He was not an issue whatsoever on the left side of the line. He's only going to get better as he gets older. So coached very well, obviously. But from a physical attribute standpoint, like 6'5.5", he's very long, 265. He'll add some weight, but he's a lean guy. He's not overly heavy. Doesn't have to drop a lot of weight. So he's impressive. He's probably, I'd say probably like the best offensive line prospect I've seen this year. We didn't see a lot. I think it was only 5 on the season. But just from a potential standpoint, his ceiling is higher than anybody else that we've seen on the offensive line this year.
Yeah, I'm interested to see next year what offensive line guys we talk about, because I feel like there are a lot of up and coming guys. They just haven't really broken on the scene yet. So, Kevin, this has been fun, man. We got one more after this. What game maybe are you most excited for next week in Chattanooga? It's crazy to think that we're there. The season ends next Saturday night. With whoever raised that gold ball between Ravenwood and Oakland. That's it. Maybe what are you most looking forward to when you go down to Chattanooga?
Oh, Houston and Oakland, not Ravenwood.
That's what I meant. Sorry. It's what we wanted. I'm a fool.
Well, I'll be at 2 games. The first one I'm excited about. I'm still working on it. There's so many players in this game. Number 2 Macaulay versus number 1 Baylor. I'm a sucker for D2 3A. I love that matchup. Every year it's great. But seeing those 2, like the top 2 programs going at it, that'll be a fun Thursday night. And then I'll be there on Saturday as well for 6A to see the rematch from last year, Houston and Oakland. Hopefully it will stay dry both days down there. Last year, I remember it was dry all year, and then I got soaked in Chattanooga for the 6A title game. So definitely looking forward to that one. I looked it up. Over the past 10 years, I've seen Oakland 15 times in person.
Yes.
And they're 13-2. The only 2 losses that I've seen them were in the state title games, to Whitehaven in 16 and to Houston last year. So big, strong, disciplined teams from Memphis who are not scared of getting hit in the mouth from Oakland and will bring it just as strongly back to them. Those are the teams that are the kryptonite for Creasy and the Oakland Patriots. So is this Houston team on that same level? I don't know. I'll get to find out on Saturday.
Their passing game with Chandler Day is really effective, and I'm wondering how Oakland adjusts to that. They finally, it seemed like last week, in the second half in particular, they adjusted well to what Maryville was doing. But the couple weeks before that, they really struggled. That'll be interesting. I mean, the games I'm most excited for, excited to see Graham Simpson in person. He's a massive test against Alcoa. That game could also win me my belt back for what it's worth. Could secure my belt and secure me as a champion for another 365. But nonetheless, Page Sevierville or Sevier County, sorry. Just the Page story. I'm working on a special project with the Patriots and Macon County. I'm excited to see Macon County and get the chance to bring home a gold ball. That's the first game on Saturday, and he's behind the sticks right now. I'm looking at him. Chris Brooks, Macon County alum. I know he's going to try to be the professional, but man, I'd like to see him let loose if they win that gold ball. So it's going to be a fun couple days in Chattanooga. I'm excited. It's going to be a great year, great way to cap off a really, really fun year with a lot of there's been a lot of parity in a lot of the classes, which I'm all about. It's been a fun year. So Kevin, I'm looking forward to seeing you down there, man. I don't think we've been at a game at the same time this year. So I'll catch up with you down there. And for myself, for everybody with 615 Preps, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.